Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Independence Day celebrations 2024. Commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 77 years of independence, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India, Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Well-being. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with the International Independence Day celebrations, which are being organized as part of 78th Independence Day and also 77th anniversary of India's independence and 5th National Social Work Week, 15th to 23rd August, 21st August 2020. Today, we have come to the last day of the celebrations. So those who have registered for the presentations are kindly requested to share your details in the chat box so that we can invite you at appropriate time, because today is the last day. So it is last opportunity for everyone to actively engage in today's event. So today we are also commemorating World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development on 21st May. This year, the theme is protecting the diversity of cultural expressions is more important than ever. Held every year on 21st May, UNESCO leads the celebration of World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, highlighting not only the richness of the world's cultures, but also the essential role of intercultural dialogue for achieving peace and sustainable development. With 89% of all current conflicts in the world occurring in countries with low intercultural dialogue, to forge effective cooperation and sustain peace, strengthening intercultural dialogue must be a priority. According to the UNESCO data, the cultural and creation sector is one of the most powerful engines of development worldwide. It accounts for more than 48 million jobs globally, almost half of which are held by women. Representing 6.2% of all existing employment and 3.1% of global GDP, it is also the sector that employs and provides opportunities for the largest number of young people under the age of 30. However, The cultural and creative sector still does not have the place it deserves in public policies and international cooperation. In a bid to change this, in September 2022, delegation from 150 states gathered in Mexico for Mondiacal 2022, the largest world conference devoted to culture in last 40 years. They unanimously adopted the historic declaration of cultural affirming culture as a global public good and calling for it to be the adoption in September 2015 of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development by the United Nations and the Resolution of Culture and Sustainable Development adopted by the UN General Assembly in December 2015. The message of the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development is more important than ever. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, can be achieved by drawing upon the creative potential of the world's diverse cultures and engaging in a continuous dialogue to ensure that all members of society benefit from sustainable development. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals can best be achieved by drawing upon the creative potential of the world's diverse cultures and engaging in continuous dialogue to ensure that all members of the society benefit from sustainable development. The UNESCO Culture 2030 indicators is a framework of thematic indicators whose purpose is to measure and monitor the progress of cultures enabling contribution to the implementation of the SDGs. So, three quarters of the world's major conflicts that have a cultural dimension, bridging the gap between cultures is urgent and necessary for peace, stability, and development. Cultural diversity is the driving force of development, not only with respect to economic growth, but also means of leading a more fulfilling intellectual, emotional, moral, and spiritual life. This is captured in the culture conventions, which provide a solid basis for the promotion of cultural diversity. Cultural diversity is thus an asset that is indispensable for the poverty reduction and at the same time, acceptance and recognition of cultural diversity, in particular through innovative use of media and information and communicative technologies, ICTs, are conducive to dialogue among civilizations and cultures, respect and mutual understanding. In 2001, UNESCO adopted the Universal Declaration on Cultural Diversity. Next, in December 2002, the UN General Assembly, in its resolution 57 by 249, declared May 21 to be the World Day for Cultural Diversity, for Dialogue and Development. And in 2015, the Second Committee of the UN General Assembly unanimously adopted the Resolution on Culture and Sustainable Development. In 2001, UNESCO adopted the Universal Declaration on Cultural Diversity. Next, in December 2002, the UN General Assembly, in its resolution 57 by 249, declared May 21st to be World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development. And in 2015, the Second Committee of the UN General Assembly adopted the Resolution on Culture and Sustainable Development, affirming culture's contribution to these three dimensions of sustainable development, acknowledging further the natural and cultural diversity of the world and recognizing that cultures and civilizations can contribute to and are crucial enablers of sustainable development. The day provides us with an opportunity to deepen our understanding. The day provides us with the opportunity to deepen our understanding of the values of cultural diversity and to advance the four goals of UNESCO's Convention on the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions, adopted on 20th August 2005. Support sustainable development systems of governance for culture, achieve a balanced flow of cultural goods and services, and increase mobility of artists and cultural professionals, integrate culture in sustainable development frameworks, promote human rights and fundamental freedoms. The ninth session of the Conference of the Parties to the Convention So, the ninth session of the Conference of Parties to the Convention of the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions will be held at UNESCO headquarters in Paris from 6 to 8. Was held actually from 6 to 8 June 2023 to examine the state of implementation of convention worldwide and major challenges facing cultural and creative sector in the post-19 pandemic context. So implementation of UNESCO Culture 2030 indicators. As a culture protects the environment, reduces inequalities, and promote decent work. So reshaping policies for creativity, addressing global culture as a global good development assistance devoted to culture and recreation is one of the on the decline. And although the flow of cultural goods and services globally continues to rise, and there has been little progress in addressing the vast disparity between developed and developing countries, and very strong inequalities also persist in the cultural creative sectors, like those faced by many women. When we look at the background of this commemoration and celebration, intercultural dialogue, equitable exchange, and dialogue among civilizations, cultures, and peoples based on mutual understanding and respect, and the equal dignity of all cultures is essential prerequisite for constructing social cohesion, reconciliation among peoples, and peace among nations. This action is part of global framework on the alliance of civilizations launched by the United Nations, more specifically when the larger framework of intercultural dialogue, which also encompasses interreligious dialogue, special focus in place on a series of good practices to encourage cultural pluralism at the local, regional, national level, as well as regional and sub-regional initiatives aimed at discouraging all expressions of extremism and fanatism and highlighting values and principles that bring together. Interreligious dialogue, UNESCO's Interreligious Dialogue Program, an essential component of intercultural dialogue, aims to promote dialogue among different religions, spiritual, and humanistic traditions in a world where conflicts are increasingly associated with religious belonging. It stresses the reciprocal interactions and influences between, on the one hand, religions and spiritual humanistic traditions, and on the other, the need to promote understanding between them in order to challenge ignorance and prejudices and foster mutual respect. Learning the art of dialogue is both a personal and social process. Developing one's skills and capacity for dialogue implies a willingness to be open while retaining one's critical judgment. Dialogue concerns us all, from decision makers and leaders to individuals within each community. Alongside relevant international conference to raise awareness, UNESCO strives to promote grassroots activities, particularly in sensitive geostrategical areas that reach target population such as women, youth, and marginalized populations. Placing culture at the heart of the development policy constitutes an essential investment in the world's future and a precondition to succeed globalization process that takes into account the principles of cultural diversity, culture, and sustainable development. Development is inseparable from culture. In this regard, the major challenge is to convince political decision makers and local, national, and international social actors to integrate the principles of cultural diversity and the values of cultural pluralism into all public policies, mechanisms, and practices, particularly through public private partnerships. The aim is, on one hand, to incorporate culture into all development policies, be they related to education, science, communication, health, environment, or cultural tourism, and on other hand, to support the development of the cultural sector through creative industry. By contributing in this way to poverty elevation, culture offers important benefits in terms of social cohesion. Culture is who we are and what shapes our identity. No development can be sustainable without including culture. We'll watch one short video.
Why invest in culture and creativity? The creative economy accounts for 3.1% of global GDP and over 6.2% of all employment, and is one of the world's fastest growing industries. Culture and creativity are also an infinite source of joy, hope, and understanding for people across the world. But the global north accounts for 95% of the world's total exports of cultural services. Digital transformation, unequal market access, the limited mobility of artists, and restrictions on freedom of expression threaten our cultural diversity. The UNESCO International Fund for Cultural Diversity, the IFCD, invests in the cultural and creative industries to empower countries in the Global South to overcome inequalities and enrich the entire world. Since 2010, the IFCD has invested more than $10.3 million US dollars in culture in over 140 projects across the globe. The creative economy accounts for 3.1% of global GDP and over 6.2% of all employment, and is one of the world's fastest-growing industries. Culture and creativity are also an infinite source of joy, hope, and understanding for people across the world. The IFCD invests in the global north to upgrade their education and skills, helping them to adapt to the new digital environment. Digital transformation, unequal market access, the limited mobility of artists, and restrictions on freedom of expression threaten our cultural diversity.
And the aim is to connect them to
the UNESCO International Fund for Cultural Diversity, the IFCD, invests in the cultural and creative industries to empower countries in the Global South to overcome inequalities and enrich the entire world.
Our platform offers
Since 2010, the IFCD has invested more than $10.3 million US dollars in culture and over 100.
information and content around the African music sector through our online portal where artists can network amongst themselves.
Son projet de mise en réseau des institutions culturelles caribéennes qui va faciliter une émergence, une circulation de l'art caribéen et spécialement mettre accent sur le travail femmes en dans les Caraïbes.
36% of all IFCD projects have focused on youth. 27% of projects supported women's empowerment through education and training, and women's participation in outreach and activities reached over 67%. 40% of all IFCD projects were in Africa. The IFCD works to protect and promote cultural diversity by channeling support to local initiatives which have a global impact. It supports the design of inclusive policies for creativity, bringing creative voices to the forefront.
We wanted to make the government realizing that they cannot only compete on the tourism sector post-pandemic. What makes the destination of Cambodia unique is its culture.
Este proyecto es de vital importancia porque reitera nuestro compromiso en visibilizar, posicionar y desarrollar a toda la cadena de valor de las industrias creativas y culturales. Esto como un eje transversal para el bienestar económico, social y cultural.
The IFCD fosters equality in the creative industries, empowering women, youth, and vulnerable groups.
So a choreographer is a position of power and a decision-making position in dance, and that's where we need more women to be. And the second major focus is building the confidence of East African women dancers because they're still very low in numbers in the East African region.
The IFCD drives lasting change.
There's a difference being made and people are really having access to information that they never had before.
Es no solo una herramienta muy importante de financiación, sino también una herramienta para eso, ¿no? Para facilitar el networking, el intercambio de experiencias, el compartir capacidades, problemáticas y poder ir generando este conocimiento, esta red de redes, estas relaciones que ayudan a construir un nuevo paradigma respecto a la sostenibilidad de la cultura y de las diversidades culturales en todo el mundo.
The work of the IFCD is possible thanks to the support of parties to the 2005 Convention on the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions, as well as generous contributions from the private sector and individuals who believe in the power of creativity. Together, we are fulfilling our mission to drive sustainable development through the cultural and creative industries. culture, and creativity are the heartbeat of our societies.
Today is also commemorated as International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to the Victims of Terrorism, which takes place on August 21st every year, which is a day dedicated to remembering those lives have been irrevocably impacted by the acts of terrorism. Some of them had to say goodbye to loved ones, and many of them require financial and medical assistance. When the aftermath of a terrorist incident fades, victims of terrorism sometimes feel abandoned and forgotten. These victims would fight for their rights to be respected and their voices to be heard. However, victims of terrorist attacks frequently lack the resources necessary to completely rehabilitate. This day was established to recognize the support survivors of terrorist attacks. In 2017, the UN General Assembly declared August 21st as the International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to Terrorist Victims, with the goal of honoring and supporting terrorism victims as well as promoting and protecting their human rights and fundamental freedoms. The UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, released his report on the progress of the UN system to support member states in aiding victims of terrorism in April 2020, as requested by the General Assembly. Dehumanization of victims is one of the conditions that spread terrorism, according to the Global Counterterrorism Strategy, which unanimously adopted a resolution on September 8, 2006, stating that the most effective way to combat this is to make measures that respect human dignity and uphold the rule of law. Since the sixth review in 2018, events at the international, regional, and national levels have progressively indicated that victims' assistance have been progressed beyond symbolic solidarity to a more active engagement to promote their rights and demands. This is evident in the formation of Group of Friends of Terrorism Victims in 2019, co-chaired by the permanent representatives of Afghanistan and Spain to the UN, as well as the General Assembly resolution on enhancing international collaboration to aid terrorism victims. The seventh review resolution, enacted on June 30, 2021, emphasizes the importance of defending the rights and meeting the needs of terrorist victims, particularly women and children, and those harmed by terrorist, sexual, and gender-based abuse. The Global Counterterrorism Strategy unanimously adopts a resolution to take measures that respect human dignity and uphold the rule of law in 2006. The UN General Assembly declared August 21 as the International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to Terrorist Victims in 2017. The Group of Friends of Terrorism Victims by the permanent representatives of Afghanistan and Spain to the United Nations is formed in 2019. The fifth observance of the International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to Terrorist Victims takes place in 2022. So while the average person lacks the necessary tools to prevent terrorist acts, you can help them by attempting to be understanding and tolerant of people who are different from you. Understanding one another goes a long way towards reducing enmity across different races or religions. On this day, take a moment to commemorate those who have died as a result of terrorist attacks around the world. Donate to the humanitarian organizations that assist terror victims. Tell anyone you know who have been victim of terrorist attack about the UN support portal. Make sure and make use of portal to bring attention to this day and raise awareness about it. Don't forget to use the hashtag International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to commemorate this significant day, offline and online, even on social media. 21,000 deaths per year. Terrorists have killed an average of 21,000 people a year for the past decade. Terrorism is a geographical focus. Most acts of terrorism are perpetuated in specific regions of the world. Terrorism was responsible for 0.05% of all deaths worldwide in 2017 and honors the lives of babies. Airline hijackings were once widespread, but they are now extremely rare. Terrorism is responsible for less than 0.01% of deaths in most countries. Today, International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to the Victims of Terrorism is important, and it honors the victims of terrorism. Senseless acts of terrorism claim the lives of many innocent people. This day was founded to recognize and pay tribute to the victims and survivors of terrorism. Surviving a terrorist attack has a mental, emotional, and economic impact on the victims. The day was set aside to show sympathy, help to terrorism victims, and to strengthen solidarity with them. Terrorism is obvious violation of humanity's basic rights. This day is intended to raise awareness of fundamental freedoms and the rights, as well as to promote and safeguard them. Today is also commemorated as Internet Self-Care Day in US on August 21st, which is dedicated to using the internet to find resources that can help you take care of yourself. Many of us are so preoccupied with taking care of others, whether at work or home, that we forget to take care of ourselves. Self-care is described as caring for oneself through practices that promote health and active management of illness when it strikes. There are many ways to regularly practice self-care through food choices, exercise, sleep, and dental care. For example, when we talk about our bubble bath rituals and me time, we frequently overlook that self-care has ancient roots and has radical history. The term self-care was formed or created in 1950s. In the West, it was initially intended to express how institutionalized people could develop a feeling of self-worth via actions of care and preservation. In 1960s, thanks to the civil rights activists, primarily the Black Panther Party, the phrase went to the medical community, to the general public. Self-care became famous as a way to combat activist fatigue. In a 2018 Afropunk interview, civil rights activist Angela Davis remarked, for a long time, activists did not necessarily think it mattered to take care of themselves in terms of what they eat, mental self-care, cultural self-care, spiritual self-care. For example, the famous 10-point program by the Panthers, outlined by co-founders Huey Newton and Bobby Seale in 1966, included self-defeat, as a fundamental component. Consequently, medical racism had gained a greater focus by the time the 10-point program was revised in 1972. The Black Panthers Party's image as violent warriors arose from need to protect the health of Black people. The activist Audre Lorde accentuated the interconnection of self-care and civil rights in her book, A Burst of Light and Other Essays, which has become more a philosophy for the Black female identity. Today, the self-care market is worth an estimated $10 billion, accounting for a substantial share of beauty industry. So the term self-care is created in 1950s The term self-care goes from the medical community to the general public with the Black Panther Day 1960s. So popularization of self-care becomes widely accepted in 2016. Civil rights activists say that activists don't think self-care matters to them in 2018. So what exactly means self-care? So research activities relating to self-care try using Google to find items that provide you comfort. It could be anything related to your passion, such as writing, sketching, painting, or reading. Today, indulge in your passions. Today, take some time to pamper yourself, purchase something you have been always desired, or spend a nice day alone. Today is the day to splurge on your favorite delicacies or scents. While social media allows for self expression, it also creates a lot of confusion and toxicity. You can be influenced by too much negative information and user perspectives. Do not allow any anonymous people to manage your mental health by blocking anything that may harm you. Self awareness is the first step towards the self care. Even if you don't have anything, it can still be considered self care. Self care can aid the development of self esteem. 60 to 70% of the chronic diseases we know in this world are caused by key parts of self care neglect. It is not always necessary to spend money on self care. Money isn't always necessary for self care. Self care assists you to have a healthy relationship with yourself so that you may relate to others more efficiently. It makes you feel more energized and alert. We spend so much time worrying and attending to other people's needs that we forget about ourselves. This holiday season reminds us of the importance of causing to care for ones. Self care is easy as getting a good night's sleep. Sleep deprivation affects far too many individuals and it harms both physical and mental health. Your body will be able to recover and generate itself if you get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep every night. Today is also commemorated as National Report Upcoding Fraud Day in US, an initiative by Joel Hesch, a former attorney with the Department of Justice. Hesch and a passionate advocate for whistleblowers created the day for anyone looking to report healthcare fraud. He wanted to make it easier so everyone could get the process right. The day generates awareness and detailed steps on how the general public can report unethical healthcare providers. Fraudsters siphon off $65 billion each year in Medicare fraud through inflated reimbursement claims. Upcoding is one of the most rampant types of healthcare fraud that must end. Hesch draws on his 15 years as an attorney in the DOJ to support and encourage whistleblowers to come forward. The most successful claims have two things in common: facts and use of proper reporting channels. National Report Upcoding Fraud Day aims to empower anyone with a legitimate case for claims. So National Report Upcoding Fraud Day began in 2017 when attorney Joel D. Hesch left public practice to help whistleblowers report healthcare fraud. Hesch spent more than 15 years as an attorney at the Department of Justice, in short known as DOJ. During his stint at the DOJ, Hesch helped the government recover about $1.5 billion from the Medicare fraudsters. What did he find the most rewarding? Supporting whistleblowers report medical care fraud via the correct redressal systems and claim rewards. Whistleblowers hesitate to speak up for a fear of retaliation. Hesch not only ensured they filled rewards, but they also showed them the proper, therefore safe protocols. Hesch even authored a book and published a website to make the information more accessible. The resources explain various kinds of healthcare fraud and how to report them. Each misdemeanor is vastly different from the next, along with its reporting mechanisms, the desired results. One of the most prevalent ways to cheat Medicare is through upcoding bills. Upcoding is an illegal practice where healthcare providers submit inaccurate billing codes to insurance companies. In essence, the code submitted would reflect treatments that never happened. Medicare and Medicaid offer code-based reimbursements. Hospitals using the code for bronchitis receive a set amount regardless of the total payment cost. If they were to use code for pneumonia, the amount paid would be more since treatment costs for it tend to be higher. So upcoding fraud refers to the healthcare providers using higher pay codes to get more money. HESC details the proper ways to report upcoding fraud in his free book. He also led the movement to create a national day for reporting healthcare fraud. The goal is to arm the general public with the knowledge and facts necessary to claim rewards and prevent healthcare fraud. So, pain with no gains. In 2014, the FBI discovered a Detroit oncologist prescribing painful cancer treatments to patients who did not have cancer and some of them whom died. So a company called Sandoz paid a $12.64 million settlement for misrepresenting drug pricing to Medicare, inaccurate drug price reporting. In 2011, authorities prosecuted a healthcare administrator who connected patients with doctors to perform surgeries they didn't need, medical scam mastermind. A group of scammers recruited children for a bogus offer school program where drug tests at a lab were mandatory, unnecessary drug tests for kids. So that 3 former NFL players submitting claims worth $2.5 million for medical equipment they never used. So NFL retirees and false claims. So we believe people can be inherently good. A day that offers tools, facts, and accurate information, and to the right thing is what everyone does. Reporting upcoding and other kinds of fraud can prevent injustice. Companies should not make profits of people illness and suffering. It's high time we remove the stigma around whistleblowing. Without the fear of backlash, many more people come forward with the information about fraud. Finally, the last commemoration of the day today is also commemorated as National Senior Citizens Day, US. So do you have an elderly person in your life that you love and appreciate? The day is to let them know how much you care, and it's an opportunity to recognize their accomplishments. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan proclaimed this holiday to raise awareness about issues that affect senior citizens and their quality of life. Today, seniors are still active in their communities as well as counting to have a strong presence in the workforce. For all they do and have achieved for the good of their communities, senior citizens deserve our thanks. Respect and cherish senior citizens on National Senior Citizens Day on August 21st. National Senior Citizens Day recognizes seniors who have spent their lives contributing to society and have impacted everyone's lives for better. Improved healthcare has changed demographics and increased productivity of older citizens, allowing them to be more active than ever before. With more opportunities available as well, many senior citizens now begin second careers are an example for younger generations. The country's foundation and the stable sectors are the result of hard work of our senior citizens, and they deserve all our gratitude. President Ronald Reagan took the initiative to honor seniors in 1988 when he signed Proclamation 5847 and marked August 21st as the day seniors will be celebrated. Throughout history, the older people have achieved much for our families, our communities, and our country. That remains true today and gives us ample reason this year to preserve a day in honor of the senior citizens who mean so much to our land. Reagan proclaimed, for all they have achieved throughout their life and for all they continue to accomplish, we owe older citizens our thanks and a heartfelt salute. We can best demonstrate our gratitude and esteem by making sure that our communities are good places in which to mature and grow older, places in which older people can participate to the fullest and can find the encouragement, acceptance, assistance, and services they need to continue to lead lives of independence and dignity. His words have withstood the test of time, and now, over 30 years later, more important than ever, as older people are leading more productive lives. Reagan himself set an example for everyone. He was 69 years old when one of the world's most powerful titles of the President of US was given to According to the US Census Bureau, approximately 78 million people aged 65 and older will reside in America by 2035. This figure will surpass the number of population under the age of 18 for the first time in nation's history. So with this, we shall conclude today's commemorations. And if anyone is willing to make presentations, feel free to come forward, as today is the last day for presentations. So if there are no presentations, we thank everyone for joining us. For the 1 week celebrations, Independence Day celebrations, and also 5th National Social Work Week celebrations. And we express our heartfelt gratitude to all the presenters, participants who have joined the conference and International Independence Day celebrations. We request everyone to complete the formalities so that you can be eligible for certificates. So we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form, which has been raised in the form of polls, which is mandatory. Today or tomorrow, you'll be receiving an email along with feedback link. So we request everyone, those who have attended, only to fill the feedback link and provide your feedback. So see you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night. Before leaving, quickly fill up the feedback.